Hi, my name is Sarah Fell, and today I'm going to be ranking the faces that I drew in 2025. This video is a little bit late, I'm aware, but I half wanted to do this. I half wanted to do an actual doll video, but the weather has not been kind to me, so I didn't have the chance to work on any doll, and I don't really have the motivation to work on a doll either, so maybe by looking at my past work, I can rekindle some of that motivation that I have lost. In 2025, I did about 34 faces. However, as you can tell here, this isn't the full 34 faces because some of them have been sold off. They are in other people's hands now, and I generally don't think it's very fair to be ranking something that is owned by someone else now, even if it was my own previous work. So here are my categories. I have the faces that I believe I did the best this year, some good faces, some okay faces, and dolls that have re-entered the fodder box. I'm going to make it my goal to not talk down on myself as much and my capabilities. I'm also trying really hard to not use filler words this year. I'm really trying. So if this video sounds very stilted, it's probably because I had to cut a lot of pauses out of it. That being said, let's get started. The first face I did this year that is going to be ranked is this Magical Girl Claudine face. I still think she's very cute. I still do like her, but my style evolved a lot throughout the year, so seeing this makes me look and think there are definitely a lot of things that I would do different now with the skill set that I have. One of the things I didn't like about this face was her star here. I feel like I made it a bit too much of a plus sign. These sides should have been shorter, but in general, I still do really like this doll. And unfortunately, I don't have display space though, so she's sitting in my storage box somewhere. So I would put her at a good face. Me, personally. I think she's a good face. Also, by the way, if you disagree with any of my rankings, that's fine too. You're allowed to have an opinion on what I do, but I am judging myself here. Anyways, next is Orion. I feel like I've definitely grown more used to his face now, but I keep on thinking of the first attempt I did at his face, and I get a little sad because I really did like that face. And I'm not saying this one is bad by any means, but it's not his first face. I've mentioned this many times before as well. I feel like I made his, what is this? His irises a little too small, so he looks a little crazy, but he's still very handsome and he still is one of my favorite dolls. I wouldn't necessarily say best because there's competition, but I will put him in the good in front of Claudine. Next face. Oh no. I really don't like this face. I really don't. For context, I started working on this doll and then I went through an emergency in real life and I had to put her aside, and by the time I came back to her, I lost the workflow I was in. So I didn't really feel connected to her throughout the process of working on her, and just in general, I just hate her eyeshadow. It's so patchy and it's so uneven, and I hate how the green peeks through the blue of her eyebrows here. I hate her part line. I did not thatch that very well. I'm I get very disappointed in myself when I see this. And that's it's funny because I started this video thinking we're not going to talk down on ourselves. We're not going to talk down on ourselves. But I I can't help it. I see her and I get very upset cuz I feel like she doesn't fit the standards of what I want to put out. So, if it's not obvious where she is going to go, she's going into the fodder box. Next is Yarn Face Draculaura. I'm still very fond of her. I'm quite proud of this mask thing. This was it was a fun little arts and crafts moment. I also really like her hair. This was the first time I did curls like this. Otherwise, I've only ever done twin drills, like once or twice before this. So, all these using tiny straws, I was scared for my life that something was going to go wrong, but it went rather well. I would just put her in good face, probably. Maybe right here. There's not really much to say. I just think she's cute. Ooh, we have this catty face next. I really do like her. She was my first ever attempt to use acrylic paints on a Monster High base. So that was a fun little challenge. I also really wanted to practice emulating the style that I usually do with pencil, except in acrylic form. And I think I managed to do it really well. It really does reflect my art style of the time. There are a few spots on her face that are a bit not wonky. I tried drawing bottom lashes and then I was like, you can't even see them. So I just stopped. But when you take a picture all close up like this, it's all I can see, really. But other than a few of the mistakes that I've left in here and there, I still really do like this doll. She has a very sweet face. One of my favorite catties. I will probably put her in good. Above Orion. Yeah. Next is this Aiton. I I don't want to hurt Orion's feelings when I say this. And I know I'm joking. I know he's a doll, but he's also my original character. And I know he might get hurt hearing. He would be hurt if he heard this, but I really do like this face, and I think I peaked with Bratz Boys with this face. I think I did the shading rather well. I like his little smize, and even though I was originally a bit reluctant to add more hair to his brows and to give him his little soul patch, he's very charming and he's very he's so handsome. And I feel like I have not been able to capture this sort of energy with my newer Bratz Boys, which is, I guess, a bit of a spoiler for what's to come next, but that's just my opinion. This is probably my favorite Bratz Boy face that I've done, still in my collection. So, if it's not obvious, I think he goes into best of 2025. Now we have Heath. I remember these three were in a video together, and I now realize that I bullied Heath a little bit, and I think that may have been because I was drawing so much of a comparison with my old Heath. So I already had a certain expectation for myself, and when I didn't meet that expectation, that only resulted in me getting more or less upset at myself and the fact that I wasn't able to meet that expectation. I'm talking in circles. Sorry. But after I read a few YouTube comments, I dressed him up in something a bit more edgier, so he looks less like a dweeb, and I think he actually turned out very well. And he definitely suits these clothes a lot better than whatever I had him in before. So I think he should be put in good. But the question is where? I'll say here. Maybe in the end I'll rearrange it, but for now, he'll be here. Next we have Ghostly Bride Spectra. I'm very fond of her. I don't tend to do a lot of expressions on my dolls. I kind of just do a lot of forward stares, neutral stares. So, oh yeah, with Draculaura as well. These kind of knotted eyebrows are something that I'm always a bit hesitant to do because my brain is so used to it has to be a plain, neutral, pretty face stare. But despite all of that and despite my reservations, I'm very happy with this doll. I think the part I like the most, if it's not obvious, it's the tears. And it's for the sole fact that one of my mutuals on Twitter said it, a tactile experience with your dolls is so fun. So I know it might be a little bad to be like touching a custom face up with your hands a lot because oils from your fingers may degrade the plastic, but it is really so much fun running my fingers across these tiers and like feeling the bumps because I used builder gel and gel top coat. So they have texture to them and it's fun. I think I'm going to put her in a good face. Compared to everyone else, though, I would say she is rather simple outside of the tiers. So maybe she goes like right here. She's on the same tier as Draculaura, really. Next is this Laguna. I was going through a slump. When are you not going through a slump? I decided to imitate an artist that I have a lot of respect for. They are Jirori Art on Instagram. They make the cutest dolls I have ever seen. And I can't I think about them so often. But I just thought Laguna would suit that sort of face, and turns out she does. And this is probably one of my favorite dolls. She's just so cute. There's really not much I can say. So with that, I think it's kind of clear she goes here. I'm putting her under Aiton because I don't know. I know it's not it's not necessarily my art style, so I feel like I cannot take credit necessarily for her face being so good when I took a lot of inspiration from an incredibly talented artist. So while it is a good face, I feel like I can't say it's all mine, but it is. But in terms of it being a face I like, it is one of my most favorite faces that I drew. In her same video, I also included, I believe this guy is, forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Eden? Iden? I'm gonna say Iden, so I don't accidentally say Aiton, but Iden. Something about this guy irritates me a little. It's not, when I was done, I thought I was satisfied, but You know me, I like to draw comparisons to my old work and then wonder why I'm so upset. But just compared to Aiton, he just doesn't measure up. And added to that fact is that his hair just does not want to sit flat. I had him out on display for a bit, and I honestly, maybe I should have kept a bit of Ziploc bag wrapped around his hair to keep it down, but I didn't. And his hair slowly started to spring up and he started looking like a mushroom and it irritated me. So now he's in storage. But I don't know. He might end up going into the fodder box. But he's not bad by any means. I'm just being a bit critical of him. So with that, I think he goes into okay. I can do better. He's still a good face. He's okay. Venus. So I I'm sorry if I sound like a loser just giggle cackling to myself over faces that I drew myself. But I love this Venus. She's so cute. She's so pretty. I love her Manon eyebrows. They're so fun. And the pops of pink I think are really fun. This little bridge piercing thing is fun. I just think she's fun. And I think she's very beautiful. The doll, I don't know, maybe the doll is already doing so much heavy lifting because G3 Core Venus is one of the best dolls of all time. But I think this is definitely one of my best. More than Aiton. Oh no, next is this Caddy I did inspired by a Lika Castle screening. There is a Jenny friend, her name is Nanako, and she has the prettiest monochrome screening. And in general, a lot of the Lika-chan and Jenny dolls have the prettiest screenings ever. So I wanted to try and copy that and put that on Caddy, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I carried it over that well. It looks a bit unfinished, and that might be because of the scale of the Monster High heads. I'm making excuses, but the heads are really big, so it just feels very plain to me. Also, for more context, I worked on this face without any starting layers of MSC. I wanted to practice doing all acrylic faces, and she is one of the faces that I did that sort of practice on. And my beautifully big brain was like, oh, I can use acetone to clean up my mistakes as I go because there's no MSC underneath that would be removed. However, because of the color of Caddy's vinyl, you get a lot of hazy streaks when you clean her up. And what's even worse is that when you spray with MSC, it becomes even more obvious. So after I sealed her face, all of these hazy parts showed up and it just made me so mad. I also think part of it was when I had to boil wash her to give her bangs, the MSC wasn't fully dry, so it got all hazy too. That's fun. This caddy in particular also wasn't rooted very full at this part line, so she looks like she has alopecia, and I feel really bad. And if it's not obvious where she went, she's in the fodder box. Next is, I forgot this guy's name. I think it might be Caden or Brayden. It's some sort of den name, I think. He's the one with a motorcycle. I think. I'm sorry. If you can see my fingers here, I had to hold his hair down because his hair was very weird and stringy and really dry. I have no idea what it is. I'm pretty sure it's saran because old brats use saran, but I don't know. It just wouldn't cooperate. So I was hacking at his hair with scissors for at least 30 minutes and I just could not get it to work. So that is already points docked. He's strategically taken at an angle here because one of his eyes is bigger than the other, and I wanted to hide that. The idea of him is cute, but his execution was just not done well. I still have the footage on my phone. I was thinking of throwing it into like one of my compilation videos, but I don't know. I'm not happy with him, and I don't really want to put out a video of something that I'm not fully happy with. So, like, again, he's not the best, but he's not the worst. So I don't know if I'm okay with putting him in okay or fodder box, but I think I'm more heavily leaning towards fodder box. Sorry. Oh, Phoebe. When I first finished this doll, I was really happy with her. And I was having a lot of fun with her too, like dressing her up in different clothes. It was so fun because she's my favorite she's one of my favorite characters in Wuthering Waves. But after the newness settled in and she spent a bit longer on my shelf, I started to feel unsatisfied. Is it maybe because I just don't like Ever After High heads? I feel like they're just so big. And I specifically picked Ever After High because Phoebe has a round face and Ever After High has round heads, but I don't know, maybe I'm maybe it was the wrong move, but I also wouldn't really know how else I would have I don't really know what other base I could have used for her. Part of me also thinks that maybe the expectations in my head were to follow the sort of anime or BGD style makeup where they use watered down paint, super thin brushes, light strokes, and it looks so like soft and airbrushed. But in the end I switched over to pencils and I couldn't get that effect. I guess all of that is just to say I like her, but there are things I would have done differently, and I think that should put her in the okay. Probably above this guy, though. Next, we have this Frankie, who's who is actually rather simple. I was going through it when I worked on this Frankie, mentally, emotionally, just bad weather things. So, them turning out rather well, I think did make me feel a lot better. Looking at it closer, I do see there's like spots on their face that need help or fixing up. Like their eyebrow here, I think might not have been sealed properly, and some of the watercolor pencil was hard to control. So some spots are darker than others, but outside of that, I think it's a good face. A good, simple face that may have kickstarted the evolution of my style into what it is now. So I will put them in good, probably above Claudine, probably for above Claudine for the fact that I think this is where my new style started, my updated style started to come through. Mmm, this Cupid. I don't know how to feel about her. I did want to have this sort of I hate my job kind of vibe, the she's going to bite your ankle sort of vibe. But I don't know. I looking closer, I feel like she's a little wonky. It's this eye in particular. I'm mad at her accessories. I hate how the paint looks on it. I should have had it airbrushed instead. But I don't know if I can strip all of this paint off and redo it. I'm also a bit sad that what I originally wanted to be the focus on her face was like this little cursive cupid in her eyebrow. But the white gold ended up just blending into everything. And the scratches, I guess, became the focal point, which are like cool, I guess. But I don't know. Another face where I just think I would have done things differently. I'm gonna put her in okay because I can't unsee the eye wonk. Yeah. We have this spaghetti Draculaura. I don't really know what else to call her. I think she's cute. I think she's fun. Her eyes are a bit patchy because my MSC was acting weird, but I really like this face. I do see every comment that people leave, and I also do see every reply that people leave, and quote, every interaction that people leaves. I am a crazy person. So I take everything into account. I don't ever take things personally. I really try not to because obviously that would make the internet not fun to be on at all. So that being said, I remember someone saying that I give Dracula very natural looks, which I think is a fair thing to say because I love sparkly Chinese makeup and they tend to use light pastels and the focus is mostly on the sparkle than the dramatics of or I don't I feel like I'm contradicting myself, but all that's to say this this is I believe the second time I've ever done something more vampy. Haha, because she's a vampire on Draculaura. And I think it reignited my confidence to lean dark on her than instead of leaning light, leaning pink. I really like this face. It might be recency bias because she's one of my more recent dolls, but I don't know. Her teeth are fun. Her eyelashes still, I think, are some of the best eyelashes I've ever done. Really, the only thing that bothers about me is how patchy her eyes look because of the MSE. So with that, I don't think that knocks her down into good. That's not enough to knock her down into good for me, though. So I think she's in best 2025, but probably right here. No, here. Yeah. Next is this catty. So, funny story, or fun story time. I did my reroot video and I had a lot of hair left after I rerooted Venus, and I thought, well, this color also matches Caddy, and I have a Caddy who I cut bangs on and I absolutely hate. So I decided I'm going to reroot Caddy with this hair. So I used basically what was left of the hair to do this hair. I didn't make this a video because it was more of a side project thing. I did it over the course of like a few days in bed, at my desk, in bed, everywhere, while talking to a friend. And by the time I was done with the reroot, I also wanted to give her a fun and cute face. And at the time, I was doing a lot of rearranging and moving around in my room. And I found this Laguna again, and I was like, oh my god, I remember how much fun I had when I did that Laguna. Why don't I try it again on this caddy? And that I did. I also think it's really interesting how I went from this monochrome pink look on this caddy, and I decided I was just going to use a darker purple instead, and I think that suits her a lot more, this gray purple. but I still remembered to bring back the pink with a little sparkle, and I thought it was fun. She was received very well, which makes me incredibly happy for something that I decided to do last minute on a whim with the shortest burst of motivation. But for that, I think she's also going to go into a best of 2025, mostly because it's only fair that she's basically the same face as Laguna. These two are sort of in the same tier. They're lumped together. This is a bit of a surprise. My first ever Barbie face was something that I did off camera for fun. A greedy project, a personal, more greedy project. This is an original character of mine. For context, I believe I've mentioned before in Orion's video that I took Orion's name from one of my characters in Lost Ark, and this is another one of my characters. She is a bard. She was my main for a while until my favorite class came out, which is Summoner. I'm trying not to geek out about Lost Ark because I'm pretty sure you don't care, but that game meant a lot to me in the time that I played it, because I was kind of going through it, and it was something to look forward to. Unfortunately, I had to take a break for personal reasons, and a game like Lost Ark, or I'm sure any MMO, is really hard to get back into, but for Lost Ark mostly because a lot of people are focused on getting things done quickly, and when you have someone who's coming back to the game after a long time and they're trying to learn, it slows things down. So while I don't play that game anymore, the characters I made in the game still mean a lot to me. So in my free time, I made my bard, and maybe in the future I'll make another character and also the real Orion and not Bratz Boys Orion will become dolls, but personal project sort of thing. Also, here's her as she is now in her dress. She is my first Barbie face, so I'm trying to give myself grace. There is still a lot to be improved on, and maybe in the future I'll work on her again. So for that, she'll go into the okay. Maybe right here? Here? Yeah. I love her for my own personal attachment reasons, but I would definitely redo her given I get more practice with Barbie. Next is Estoila. Because she's so recent, I feel like there's still some time that I can have to sit on the face and think a bit more about how I feel about it, but she's cute. She's cute. A good face. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say is one of my best, but she's cute. She's fun. I love this blue haircut. This is my favorite shade of blue ever. And okay. I thought of a few things. I wanted this curl to be a bit curlier, but I had already cut her hair and I cut it rather short. And I also didn't want to submerge her face in water because I already put varnish on her lips and it was still drying and I was getting impatient. So I just did the best that I could with like a metal straw and a straightener to curl as much as I could. So if there's one thing I would say, I wish this was curlier. Also, looking closely now, I see her eyebrow here might have come off in the boil wash, so she might need a bit more sealant. But besides that, just a good face. And with recency bias, I think she goes here. Above. Yeah. And then lastly, is this Oasis Draculora? Another fun story. I have two friends, and we were doing our holiday gift exchange, and I thought it would be fun to do all three Oasis dolls, repackage them, wrap them up the same way, and then have my friends pick the boxes mystery box style. And it was really fun. But of course, that was just for the optics of it, and in the end, after everyone switched around and talked about which ones they really wanted, Draculaura was left to me, and I'm okay with that too. I liked all the dolls that I did for that line, but because those dolls, but because the Laguna and the Genifire are now my friends, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I don't think it's fair to be critical of dolls that are in the possession of other people. But I can be critical of my own doll, of this Draculaura doll. Like I was talking about earlier, I felt after Spaghetti Draculaura, I felt a lot more comfortable leaning into something a bit darker and edgier for Draculaura. So I went with like this super smoky eye look. And I kept the lips very nude and neutral to like place emphasis on like how smoky and dark this is. And I was a bit hesitant at first, but Oasis Draculaura's original screening already has kind of dark makeup, and it matches the darker pieces in her playset. So it all worked out in the end. And yeah, again, just maybe it's recency bias. Maybe I haven't had enough time to stew and ruminate and think about things I did wrong. But what can you say? It's a Draculaura. I love Hime bangs. I love smoky makeup. I love nude lips. She's a good face. Right here. Okay. And now we're gonna go back to this tier list and let me see if I can move anything around. Okay, I'm back. So I only really moved two things around. I moved Iden down here because I he's just not Aiden. His face just isn't Aiden's, and I think if I redo it, I could do it better. So I think I'm gonna move him back into the fodder box. And as you can see, I moved Claudine down here in the sense that I still think she is a good face, but I remember I mentioned earlier about how because she was the first face of the year, if I compare her to say this Draculaura now, I feel like they're both such different styles. You might be looking at this and you might be thinking, Seraphel, the style is exactly the same. And maybe you're right, but I feel me personally looking at my own art that they are two very different dolls. So I think she goes in okay for the sole factor that she is basically the mark of the end, the beginning of the end of my era doing this sort of style of face. And I feel like earlier I mentioned this Frankie being the start of the way I currently do faces, which is true, but I think you can see some of it in this Draculaura, which I believe may be. Yeah. Yeah, this Draculaura, she was hiding my current style. I sound like a crazy person. I've been talking for 50 minutes. But I will trim this video down as much as I can. This year, I want to start doing more Bratz girls faces. I've been very afraid of them because I feel like I just cannot do the beautiful Bratz girls justice compared to their factory screenings or the beautiful screenings of Lollyword. I've been practicing. Off camera, I've been practicing. And I think I'm getting there. Will I make a video? We'll see. Who knows? I've also mentioned before that I don't really know how much longer I can continue with this hobby due to real life circumstances. So I don't want to depress myself or you. So we'll just say that hopefully this year I can do the best I can with the time that I have. That sounds so ominous, but I like to keep my privacy. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how to end this video. If you have opinions on the faces I did, feel free to let me know. If you disagree or agree, etc. Thank you for watching. I hope this year I could make videos more consistently, but again, who knows? I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!